Hello, everybody. Bonjour tout le monde. And welcome to the Wine with Jimmy channel, the wine educational channel, really designed to help those of you studying at home study more efficiently, more better, and more enjoyably to get more out of it, so your understanding and mastering the subject is taken to the highest level. Delighted to have you on board. If you are here for the first time, just going to go through a quick introduction. So yes, we do all of these wine educational videos. If you do have any comments about the video, any questions, any concerns, of course, you can pop it in the comments section below this video. And whilst you're down there, make sure you click like and subscribe, because every little helps us. So what are we looking at here? This is Wines of the World for the WSET Level 4 Diploma. The complex, the challenging, but the ultimately rewarding and wonderful diploma. So this is going to be on Burgundy. There is the Hospice de Beaune in the background of that picture, a real centerpiece of culture from Burgundy, sited in Beaune in the central part. So I'm going to just give you the overview here. So Burgundy is split for the diploma into these 5 series. Okay, introduction and history, very short sort of couple of videos to begin with. Then it goes into Chablis. I'll add in a few things around Chablis as well, because you know I always add a few things in for flair. Then series 3 is on really the viticulture and vinification of central Burgundy. Series 4 is on the appellations, including the vineyard structure. And Series 5 will be on the wine laws, regulation, and of course, got to have a bit of gastronomy with wine. Now, in these series, this first one, Series 1, is split into an introduction about Burgundy. Part 2 will be on the history. And there's a wonderful history to go through in Burgundy. Now, this video is available as free content, but part 2 will only be available on my e-learning portal, and you can find out where to access that on the website www.winewithjimmy.com. Okay, let's rock and roll with the introduction to Burgundy, so you get an idea of where it is, what it looks like, the key kind of overarching principles of this area. So there is Burgundy in the picture. So the Burgundy wine region comprises of a number of areas. So in terms of wine production, we have Chablis in the Yonne department, near the city of Auxerre in the north. We have the Côte d'Or, which is in fact made up of the Côte de Nuit and the Côte de Beaune. Okay, so those two combined makes up the Côte d'Or, the golden slopes. We have the Côte Chalonnaise and we have the Mâconnais down in the southern section as well. So there are our bits here. We also do have Beaujolais to the south, but that's covered in a separate series for the diploma, and rightly so. The size of Burgundy as a total area looks a little bit like the shape of Africa, doesn't it? And it sits here in central eastern France. And there are, of course, other parts of Burgundy which would often be looked at in a much more detailed look, things like the when you're looking at master's level. So looking at things like the Châtillonnais and things like the Auxerrois area around the city of Auxerre as well. A few things about the distances just here as well. So all of these areas, except from Chablis in the north, so we're looking at this middle part, occupy a relatively narrow strip of land running approximately north to south from Dijon, the city famous for the Dukes of Burgundy, lovely castle, and of course mustard, down to Mâcon in the south, which is a great gastronomical city. So Dijon down to Mâcon, going through places like Beaune and Chalon. It kind of gets a little bit fatter at the biggest area at the bottom, Mâcon. But this is about 130 kilometers north to south, from Dijon to Mâcon. And then you've got probably about just a little less than that from Chablis to Dijon if you go down the A6. And as we mentioned, the Côte d'Or is divided into the Côte de Nuit, which runs from Dijon to pretty much Nuit. And then you have the Côte de Beaune, around Beaune itself towards Saint-Tenay. Okay. What have we got here being quite famous? Well, Burgundy is exceptionally famous and renowned for the quality of its single variety wines, made normally, of course, from Pinot Noir and Chardonnay. Now, there are other varieties, and I will cover those when we go through the relevant parts in the appellations. And I will talk a bit about Aligoté as well, but we're really focusing here, of course, on Pinot Noir and Chardonnay. The wines are regarded really for many people as the absolute model, the perfect template for these varieties for producers and consumers alike across the world. Plantings are, of course, dominated by Chardonnay and Pinot Noir, and they are produced in a range of quality levels, but normally we are looking at kind of the baseline being good, and then, of course, the epitome being outstanding. And we have a range of prices, but really not too cheap. It's expensive land here, so mid-price to super, super, super premium price. And limited supply and surging worldwide demand for these wines mean that the average prices do remain quite high for Burgundian wines. And just to give you a little bit about the areas, the plantings across the sub-regions can be quite varied. So the Yonne department, which has Chablis, that's your northern part there, as you can see, is about 80% Chardonnay, because we will find other varieties like César, Sauvignon Blanc, and Pinot Noir in areas around that department. And of course, when it comes to singly Chablis, it is only Chardonnay, of course. And if you look at the Côte d'Or, so that's the Côte de Nuit and the Côte de Beaune, which is the slightly pinkish area and purpley area there, it's about 60-odd% Pinot Noir. If you come down to Mâcon, in the southern area, you're looking at about 90% Chardonnay. So there's definitely focuses in all of these areas, which are very much we'll go through when we go through the relevant areas. And here is your overall statistics from the BIVB. So these are your figures for the key grape varieties. Chardonnay is about half of the plantation. Pinot Noir is at about 40-odd%. Then Aligoté. And then the other varieties account for Gamay, Sauvignon Blanc, and the very small varieties like things like César, for example, and Sassy. So very small amount of those produced, but we're seeing that huge domination here, of course, of Chardonnay and Pinot. And of course, in later series, I will go into depth about Chardonnay, its history, its origins, what it's like in the vineyard, what it's like in the winery, and of course its overall style, and the same for Pinot Noir and Aligoté as well. I will add that in for good measure. So really, that's just a bit of a snapshot of an overview of Burgundy. Please do join me for part 2, looking at the history of this wonderful region, and a lot of history to go through, with influences from Romans through monastic orders through to the revolution. There's a lot to be discussed with the history of Burgundy, and of course Charlemagne will probably make an appearance, stealing the limelight with his permanently red stained beard. So we will, please do join me for that. That will only be available on my e-learning portal. That's over at www.winewithjimmy.com. If you, of course, once again have any comments, questions, concerns, please do get in touch. You can do so by commenting on this video below, or you can get in touch by the social media handles that you see at the bottom of every slide. It's been a pleasure. Thank you for stopping by. And one last thing, of course, if you do find yourself in Old Blighty, that's the United Kingdom, and you're in London town, the capital city, then come and see me at one of my establishments for a class, a glass, or a bottle. I've been Jimmy Smith. Ciao for now. Goodbye.